Mercy play.
You know, I agree. I was actually really impressed with his Mercy play. I thought his tempo reses were very good as we see Toronto jumping in already. But on Zenyatta, I feel like we've constantly see him sort of get out of position, and he hasn't seemed to really had a good grasp of the right timing for the ults. So hopefully we get to see more of his Mercy play, because I think it's great. But Zenyatta, a little bit iffy. Agility's doing a little bit of damage here as Immortals sets up their kind of front lines of defense with the D.Va, Winston, a little bit of damage from the Genji.
Yeah, the problem is that how are they actually going to stop this Soldier 76? They only have three people that they can send back onto this high ground, and basically Immortals can get 5 people up there extremely quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Orb of Discord already on Jaru. He gets taken down really fast. We saw Oni got dropped pretty early in that push too. And so far so good for Immortals. They seem to have a very, very solid defense, and everything kind of going swimmingly for these guys at the moment.
Yeah, one of the ways that we've seen Immortals even today break that is by going through the lower door and then diving before the defensive team can reposition. You've got to kill that soldier. You've got to burst him down very quickly if you want to have that success. Otherwise, it just turns into a shooting gallery from the high ground.
You know, they're not trying that, and I wonder if it's because they're being seen. You know, Agilities is up there keeping watch. They're going to try diving down now, so we'll see if Toronto can maybe get this payload going. They do go up and dive. Yeah, they do go ahead and get quite a few, actually. Jaru coming through on that Genji, like we've seen him come through on the Genji all day long, and off the back of that payload should really move.
Jaru played that really well. So they got the 3 players up there, and they forced them back. So Jaru followed up on the tank engage, and that meant that they were in the corridor for the Genji dash through multiple members. A very clean engage from Toronto Esports, and they will easily take point A.
Yeah, okay, so a little bit rough at first, but then finally getting that push that they wanted. And now we go into hangar phase. Immortal not trying to go overboard on the defense, trying to set things up pretty well here in the hangar phase. They had a little bit of time to do it, so we'll see what they can come up with now. Hyped already demeched though, so that's not a good start for Immortals.
Has to pull back immediately, trying to get that pulse bomb, and they are going to get one.
Yeah, he does get Hyped, who was out of the mech, so easy target there. Meanwhile, Agilities pulls out the Dragon Blade, goes in, takes out Snow. Looking for the other support right now, can't quite get him, but Grim Reality taking down Onigon in the back of all that as well. Jaru, his own Dragon Blade pulled out now. See what he can pick up with that. Toronto Esports not really slowed down too much, stalled now finally, but they are kind of slowly pushing through. Looks like they may need to back up for a moment though.
Yeah, they are going to have to pull back.
Yeah.
It was a good hold on the Dragon Blade from Toronto Esports. They waited until they could see the damage done by the nano-boosted Dragon Blade on the other side and basically equalize things. They are going to have to pull pretty far back now to spawn, but they didn't commit too much to that.
I mean, when you have kind of very similar comps go against each other here, it's really about like who counter dives better, right? If you can handle the incoming dive and then use the fact that their front line is out of position and get onto their supports, that's when we see teams have success. Yeah,
Toronto's going to come into this with a big ult advantage too, so not the end of the world for them. They should be able to get a good push here in the hangar phase.
All right, self-destruct. What's he gonna get? Nothing, but Grim Reality does get taken out by Jaru already. Toronto gonna go ahead and drop the Transcendence to try to keep everybody up. Again, about handling that counter dive coming in from Immortals right now. Self-destruct from Hyped. He gets taken out before he can get back in the mech again. And Toronto Esports seems to have a little bit of an edge in this fight as that payload moves forward. Immortals scrambling a little bit. They lose Verbo. Lucio out of the way. And this is looking a little bit grim for Immortals right now.
Yeah, throwaway on the self-destruct from Hyped after the damage had already been done more or less, not really catching anybody or even zoning more than a couple of people off the payload. So very quick push so far for Toronto Esports, rolling through Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Well, we saw the reset too at the end from Carve and Verbo. Immortals trying to get back to the same spawn. But, point A looked okay initially, but it's honestly been a really strong push nearly all the way through for Toronto Esports now.
Yeah, Grim got a nice catch onto Onigod to start this one. We are going to have a pause.
Pause time. All right, so let's recap, huh?
Let's recap. I mean, really,
do I have to recap?
Yeah, well, you're there. Let's utilize you.
Well, I was napping during that game. No, I actually really like how Cynic and Jaru are gelling, if we're using that's kind of the word of the night. But the big question, how are they going to deal with the high ground? How are they going to initiate these fights? Well, they answered it, and Cynic and Jaru really got in and did the damage.
Yeah, I mean, that was really nice. That was significantly better than we saw in their last match. They actually were able to get that engage up onto the high ground very cleanly, got the kills they needed. It looks like they've already patched that up just a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, a little bit stronger of a start than I think we expected. You know, again, talking about some of the issues they were having in their match against Hollywood Hammers, but so far a lot of those issues look to be kind of solved in the little break they had.
Yeah, and as we come into this next fight, what's really crucial here is that with Jar with the Dragon Blade up, Immortals is always going to have that Dragon Blade advantage with the Nano Boost on their side. So it has to come down to, if Immortals is going to stall this out for an extended period of time, they need to get rid of Jaro very quickly before he can actually counteract the Nano Boosted Dragon Blade that's coming through. Also, getting back on the high ground with the Soldier going to be extremely important. Maybe get another shot and force Toronto to dislodge them once again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Toronto Esports utilizes potentially some of the high ground options here, as we're going to be unpausing shortly. But yeah, I guess I'll let you guys take it away, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, as here comes the Dragon Blade.
All right, here comes the Dragon Blade. Let's see what he can get with it. Pulled out by Agilities right now. Not finding a lot of kills just yet. Finding nothing, in fact. Has a Nano Boost, but can't quite. Oh, he got the Reflect, actually. In the end on the Cynic. Barely lived. Wow, 6 health. And Agility stays up. That payload's still moving, though.
Still very low value, though, because Cynic played it nicely. Actually was using the Primal Rage to bounce him back and nullify both the Dragon Blade and the Nano Boost, more or less. So here comes through. Grim Reality looking to get that tack visor as fast as he can, staying on the low ground.
Toronto being careful. There's the self-destruct coming in after the sound barrier from Immortals. They're on the payload right now, and they've got Faith swapped over to the Reinhardt for just a little bit more durability to the back line. Onigod coming in now. Ooh, nice dive onto Agilities. Took him down. He swapped over to Roadhog after using that Dragon Blade. And that payload is almost there. Toronto Esports running over Immortals. They were doing so well today, but it looks like it might all end now. Toronto Esports with a strong push coming in. Onigod may have taken himself out to the end, but hey, it all worked out, and that's 2:45 left on the clock for Toronto Esports.
The value of ultimates on that map for Toronto Esports was very good. They were very deliberately forcing Immortals to overcommit to the Dragon Blade, but when they were trading Dragon Blade for Dragon Blade, sure, the kills were even, but the Nano Boost was there as well for Immortals. And when you're not getting that extra value, when you're not getting that full team wipe, that's just a one ult that you're down, and you just end up losing slowly, bleeding out on your ult economy.
Yeah, and we just saw from that replay too, Onigod really kind of stepping it up at the end too to sort of augment that final push. And so now Immortals really having their work cut out for them, as they have 3 points to match and a really good time to kind of face down against Toronto.
Yeah, I like the idea that Fate had at the end, swapping over to the Reinhardt, because there wasn't anything that Toronto was going to be doing to sort of camp on that high ground on that bridge at that last point.
Yeah.
So maybe you can get that big shatter, but unfortunately for Immortals, they never had the opportunity to build that ult up.
Well, again, we see nearly mirrored comps. Well, yeah, pretty much nearly mirrored comps coming out for both teams. Immortals, again, playing that 2-2-2 dive, as we've seen pretty much everybody play quite a bit of today.
Toronto going to go for a triple DPS look, though, and with no playing back again, we've seen how effective Immortals can be. So Toronto, they have to make sure that they are going to be covering all of those entrances and make sure that they have an escape plan for Note on the high ground. This is a bit of an interesting composition because you can't really tell where they're going to defend. The Tracer usually means they're going to defend further forward. The Soldier usually means they're going to defend further back.
Well, like you said, as long as they give a good escape path to Note, they can kind of do both, right? They can kind of poke a little bit early on, and then if they feel the need, they can drop back. But they got to get that Soldier to the high ground pretty safely, so it has to be a safe trip through security for Toronto Esports to hold this one, I think. Immortals coming out now, and we'll see how aggressive they want to jump on this. Immediately trying to just check out the high ground, seeing who's up there.
They're not going to find much, but the Soldier is positioned very far forward, and here comes the dive.
Yeah, Note kind of caught out. Can they handle the dive, though? Agility's in there as well. Fate goes down very fast, but they trade for Snow. Jaru, though, eliminating Agilities, and the kills getting traded, but overall, Toronto Esports able to kind of keep Immortals from pushing this thing too much. Grim Reality taken down, and it's Jaru yet again, who's coming up so big on this Genji. He has really kind of lit on fire here today, in the best way.
Yeah, we've not in the bad way.
Not the bad way where you're actually on fire in real life. That's not so good.
But Jaru had been a force for this team in some of the matches we had watched earlier in this tournament, but fell away in their last match in the semifinals. This time, however, his dashes and his positioning have been quite good, cleaning up these fights or getting multiple members in the Genji dashes.
They're having a hard time handling it. They do get the payload moving. Toronto Esports, you know, wisely after losing a few members, pulling back to the high ground version of this defense.
Yeah, they weren't going to have that respawn advantage, so Note already building up with that tack visor there, and that, if Fate goes way too far forward there, he needs the rest of his team right there.
Yeah,
he's going to make any kind of pressure onto the high ground, and with Verbo going down, may mean a little bit of a delay, but Grim actually hits the pulse bomb.
I mean, that's a tank and a DPS down for Toronto Esports, so despite Immortal missing someone, maybe Agilities can get enough kills here to equalize. Sound Barrier keeping up Snow for the moment, but not long enough. Agility with 2 already before he's taken down by Jaru. Jaru nearly has his own Dragon Blade, but he's getting zoned out by Hyped. Finally taken down, and Immortals seem to have found a pretty good push here.
Now we have to deal with Omega on the payload, and that's going to be about it. Note's going to try and jump down, and we are seeing the Primal Rages popped here. Some good stalling, but it just looks like it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, and ulting Cynic may not be quite enough to stop this payload. Ulting Cynic was also the name of my punk band in high school, actually.
Was it?
It's an amazing coincidence, huh? Onigat jumps in at the end, so he's going to be a little bit late for the defense party. Oh, and the split spawn really hurting Toronto Esports. That's already going to be a strong push for Immortals, and they're going to come into this with a bit of an ult advantage.
And because they lost their soldier, that's the one hero you really want to get prepared on the high ground. He's going to be the last one to show up right now, making it extremely difficult. Grim Reality lurking in the wings, and as we take a look at Fate here, just dominating the high ground and making sure nobody's able to get the free shots from out there.
Yeah. That dive plus the punch damage. That's too bad. Dive coming in, he's gonna, ooh, that's a pretty good angle for the self-destruct. Doesn't catch anyone with it, but a scary moment. Drives Toronto Esports into the waiting arms of Agilities. And Immortals able to clean up this fight pretty efficiently. They finish Ludi off at the end.
And Agilities didn't even have to use the Dragon Blade to get the initial picks in that fight. So the self-destruct looked good, but everybody falling back on Immortals to behind the corner and easily taking out the members that have been left up there in a 6 versus 5.
Well, just kind of clumped them up around the corner, which is exactly where they didn't want to be. Agilities with the Dragon Blade again, taking names, and Toronto Esports defense pretty much falling apart here during the hangar phase.
Well, Jaru got cut down during his own Dragon Blade. We heard both Genjis going off at the same time.
Yep.
And this is what happens. Finds it just a little bit earlier, takes advantage of people filtering in through the doorway. And man, he just slashed his way through that fight. So Agility's continuing to put the pressure on this Genji here tonight.
You know, and the thing is Immortal it's possible for them to set a pace that's actually going to be ahead of Toronto Esports if they can keep the momentum going. Agility's very low health, has to be careful. Meanwhile, Onigod trying to rest from behind. They did lose Fate, so Immortals will have to be a little bit careful here. Not pulling back just yet, though. They took down Cynic, so both Winston's out of commission for a short time as Immortals keeps trying to push his payload, but here comes the Tack Visor being popped by Note, gets the kill on Agilities, and that is going to cause a reset for Immortals. Maybe grabbing a couple kills on the way out. They at least pop Hype out of the mech. We'll see if he takes a dive to reset that. Because that hurts to lose the mech as your team is sort of backing away.
Yeah, great Tack Visor. Didn't pick up the kills, but did force them all into the bunker on the left side of the payload, where it made it easy for them to pick off people inside the room and take advantage of that claustrophobic space.
Yeah, oh, Hype goes down. He didn't get back in the Diva suit, and that's a real problem for Immortals.
Big delay.
Yeah, huge delay. So Toronto Esports, if nothing else, they've at least managed to get a little bit of a time advantage if Immortals can actually finish this push here.
Reality. Try his luck here, hiding behind the payload. Has to be very careful. Does get back to the Mega Health Pack.
Yeah, under some pressure, though. Ooh, they do take out Snow. A couple members of Toronto Esports dropping, actually, due to the dive. Grim Reality firing from behind. They get the Primal Rage out on Cynic. Just trying to keep people away from the payload. And, man, Sound Barrier from both sides is going to help try to keep people up. But, again, Immortals having to back off for a little bit, at least having to wait out that Primal Rage and wait for their other members to come back.
That looked like it could have been a winning fight if Fate had actually popped his Primal Rage. He died with his ultimate available, and so things turned the way of Toronto Esports. They over-responded with Verbo's Sound Barrier. But Grim Reality is going to get 2.
Yeah, can they follow up, though? I mean, that was kind of done independently of any push for Immortals. His teammates have to get back here to capitalize on that. And they're not quite doing it just yet. So, you know, a great pulse bomb for Grim Reality, but his team only just now starting to kind of reap the benefits of that.
Pulse bomb going to go up and not going to pick up anybody.
Yep.
Jaru still trying to stall out that payload, and Agilities need to get some more damage in there, and that's going to do it. Hyped actually using the Diva boost to take him out in midair.
That's a good long push now for Immortals. Toronto Esports, though, they have ults to try to stall this off, and one last-ditch effort. There's a Transcendence coming out of the spawn immediately. Looks like it's going to be the ultimate for Hype. We'll see if he can pick anything up with the self-destruct, not quite grabbing anything. They're going to jump on him immediately and pop him out of that mech. Toronto Esports, now the Dragon Blade comes out for Agilities, trying to finish this one off, and he tears Toronto apart. That is it. 3 points for Immortals. A minute 30 on the clock, so not quite as fast as Toronto Esports, but still a very respectable push.
Yeah, and Immortals had the exact right group of ultimates in order to make that final push. They had the self-destruct, they had the Primal Rage, and with the Dragon Blade coming up, they had enough time to wait out the Transcendence and then drop all of those cart emptying ults like Primal Rage and self-destruct right on top and make sure that they could keep moving all the way through point C.
Yeah, checking out that Pulse Bomb from Grim Reality as well. Another nice little pick there. He's certainly stepped up. I mean, that's the thing, is we've been talking a lot about Agilities today, but whenever Agilities has fallen, it really has felt like Grim Reality is right there to kind of pick up the slack and carry for him.
Well, they've got to do it again here. Yep. Minute 15 less in the time bank for Immortals. So Toronto Esports with a substantial advantage. With the help of Jaru, they will be playing that defense first. This time, however, note goes back to the Diva, so they are going to try and play this more aggressively and really limit the push time.
Okay. Well, like you said, only a minute 30 on the clock for Immortals in this time bank attack round, so they've got to try to make the most of it. Toronto Esports, when you play this far up, it is a bit of risk reward, right? If you lose that first fight, you're going to lose a lot of ground on the payload. You're going to get maybe one more defense, but if you hold here, you can stop the enemy at basically nothing. So Toronto Esports deciding that they've got what it takes to hold things a little bit farther forward, and here comes Immortals on the payload, moving it already. And here's aggressive defense from Toronto. Wow,
Kriev's
going
down.
forward. Yeah, Grim Reality. Kriv taken out. And Onigod, though, taking a few for Toronto Esports. Good, solid defense so far. I mean, it's pretty equal across the board, honestly. But that payload is not moving throughout all this.
The problem is that even though Kriv died first, the respawn advantage hugely in favor of Immortals right here. They bounced straight out of that respawn room and onto the cart.
They needed to win this fight.
Absolutely huge there. Grim Reality already sitting on a pulse bomb. Onigod only finding 34% of his ult, despite getting that initial pick. So Immortals has a lot of ult bank to work with here.
Toronto needed to win that fight much more cleanly than they were fighting it. Can't trade evenly if you're trying to do that forward defense. And here's one more defense coming in for Toronto Esports. We'll see what they can come up with. Already the high ground occupied. Grim Reality pops Diva out of the suit. Both Divas desuited, actually, as Immortals push this payload a little bit farther. With the time bank, getting even point A would be huge here for them. See if they can do it. That payload is moving. I think they've got it. They do. So point A taken. Remember, in time bank, you don't get any extra time for taking a point. Grim Reality just looking at one of his kills. Crucial, taking out that Lucio. Taking out Note as well. Meanwhile, Immortals are pushing.
It is overtime, but Agilities comes back with a Dragon Blade on his own. Jaru still only at 70%. So Immortals has a lot of opportunities to keep using this ult advantage to push the payload through the hangar phase.
Yep, that's right, here we go. Ultimates all over the place as we are in overtime now. See if anybody can get him with a self-destruct. No, not quite. Grim Reality once again takes on Ludi, and the kills coming in for Immortals. They are putting together a really long push with the time they had. Whoa, nobody can stop Agilities right now, and they may even get point B. That would be insane.
It would be huge, and Jaru only now getting the Dragon Blade, and they still have a Transcendence to wait it out.
They actually get there.
Yeah, watch for Kriv here. He needs to have a good Transcendence. Jaru in the same boat, has to have that good Dragon Blade. Here we go.
Well, they're going to come in early. The Transcendence is popped by both Zenyatas. It's Disco Fever here in this last fight at point B, and now Jaru pulls out the Dragon Blade. Verbo goes down early. but Karev not surviving either. Actually, Jaru may be able to end this one right here, right now. Looks like they will. Yeah, Onigod picking up the last few kills, and that's going to be OT ticking away. But that said, Immortals, 2 points. They are up to 5 in total. Great push for 1:30 on the clock.
And Toronto did come up with a nice counterattack at the end, though. So what happened there was Toronto Esports popped their own in Transcendence to bait out Kariv's Transcendence on Immortals. And once that was down, they had the sound barrier loaded, hit the sound barrier, and that's when Jaru pops the Dragon Blade.
Yeah.
No more defense, no more healing, no more support ults for Immortals, and they clean up the fight. So very good engage from Toronto to at least stop that push.
Well, when you get to those deep overtime pushes, when you know that overtime bar is going to drop almost instantly, there are those situations like we just saw where you can just have the right ults to just stop the push cold without really anything that can be done by the attacking team. That said, Immortals has set a very high bar for Toronto Esports to meet. They have 2 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock, so they've certainly got some time to work with. But can they do it? That's a long push for Time Bank here on Gibraltar.
And Immortals is not going to fight them up towards the spawn location. They are going to play with Grim Reality back on top in the back corner on the Soldier 76 again. But they have to be careful because they lost that one fight. And even though you have such a positional advantage with that Soldier, you still have to be super careful about how you handle that. Looks like they are going to position a little bit further forward this time.
You know, I wish they were starting a bit farther back, though. I mean, they've got time to work with better, I think, to take that stable defense. But hey, if they can pull it off, more power to them. Toronto Esports coming in hard, though. See what Immortals have.
Now, where's the Soldier going? Okay, he's staying up on top for the moment.
That is risky, man. Staying alive. They've really got to protect Grim Reality here. Agility's on the side. He's going to get a little bit low. Got the Discord orb on him, but it looked like he managed to escape. Oh, the jump not landed, actually, by Cynic. He's going to go down. Fate died as well. Both Winstons out of commission right now. That payload still moving, but Hyped and Agility's coming in with some kills of their own. They may be able to stop it here in Car Wash and Grim Reality. Indeed, safe in the back with that Soldier 76.
They dropped down on both sides of Car Wash and caught them in a nice crossfire after the monkey massacre that began that engagement. And now...
the humanity, or the monkey humanity.
Yeah, now we're going to see them post a little bit further back and get that typical Soldier position. But Toronto Esports was capable of rushing up this time. Immortals needs to be able to reposition that monkey and that diva back further on the point if they decide to dive.
Yeah, they got to be ready for the push here. Meanwhile, a little bit of diving coming in from Immortals. They're going to back off, though.
Here we go.
Yep, they're going in now. Can they take out a few members? Agility's so low. Got to be careful. He's going to pull the Dragon Blade and die immediately. He really needed more out of that. But the teammates coming up big for Immortals. Kariv, Hype, Grim Reality, everybody getting in the action. And in the end, it's a bloodthirsty Zenyatta Kariv, fresh from South Korea, grabbing a couple really important kills for Immortals.
Jaru again with a nice shutdown. His Genji dashing has been great this match so far. So they eliminate one crucial ult. It's now up to Grim Reality. What can he do with the TAC visor? No nano boost to help him out, and they need to play around the sound barrier that Toronto Esports has.
Yeah, very true. And Grim Reality needing to play this one very carefully. Here comes a dive now. The Transcendent's going to try to help them pick up some kills, see if it works out. Sound barrier used by Toronto
that
Esports.
was early.
In response, it does seem a bit early. Wearing off now. Grim Reality being chased away, though. Jaru getting very low. He's got the Dragon Blade, but not accomplishing a lot with it. Hyped even takes out Ludi with the self-destruct. And Toronto Esports stuffed on that offensive push, and they used everything they had on that. 20 seconds left, and although Immortals don't have any ults themselves, they do have that big positional advantage.
Well, crucially, Cynic is going to have Primal Rage, so they may be able to stall this one out. Self-destruct already available, so can they get to the payload in time? 6 seconds, let's go.
Yeah, that's right. Toronto Esports coming in with actually a couple last-minute ultimates. See if they can push it. Getting closer. There's a sound barrier for Immortals. Are they going in? It looks like they are. Transcendence used by Toronto Esports, of course. No trying to keep everybody up. As soon as that's over, though, the Dragon Blade comes up. Agility's trying to make a difference here. Grim Reality picking up a kill, too. Agility's with 2. And now another Transcendence comes in for Immortals, and the payload's going to be stopped right here, right now. And as that time bar ticks away, it looks like Immortals will take Gibraltar.
And we did see some nice adaptation from Immortals on the second defense. They didn't leave the 3 players on the high ground, the back point high and dry. Hyped was much better about getting back there with the defensive matrix when they made that dive, and it made such a huge difference.